Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Tanks with the mighty Jingles for the second time today. Those of you who were early enough to catch it, how can I put this? This is really embarrassing. This is an emergency video. The first video that I uploaded today, I somehow managed to record an entire battle at half speed, thinking that the tank involved just had a damaged engine or an injured driver or something. Yes, I really am that stupid. So, next time I upload a World of Tanks video, or a World of Warships video, where I'm having a good old laugh at the stupidity of the players involved, don't forget to remind me in the comments, yes Jingles, but none of these guys were dumb enough to record an entire battle at half speed and upload it onto YouTube. So anyway, this is an emergency video. So, I really have to thank I'm Pretty Terrible, yes that's really his name, in the Scorpion G, on a tier 9 battle on Steps for providing me with an alternative source of video for today's entertainment. I like that name, by the way. I'm Pretty Terrible. You know, if you suck, you can always say, yeah, well, I'm pretty terrible. I mean, I warned you. Speaking of sucking, wow. Well, you know, at least that guy didn't upload a video to YouTube at half speed and not notice until a couple of hundred people pointed out in the comments. So that was a pretty dumb thing to do of that Walker Bulldog, but I've done worse. Still, first blood to I'm Pretty Terrible's team. And of course he is in the Scorpion G. Might be a tier 9 battle, tier 8 tank destroyer, but it's a very, very good tier 8 tank destroyer with an excellent gun. Great mobility too, but terrible armour. So he's not taking any chances. This is a tier 9 battle after all. Waiting for the team to move up, light up targets for him, shoot them from a position of relative safety. Pretty standard tank destroyer tactics. The only real issue is that most of the rest of the team seem to have the same idea, even some of the heavies. There's some movement occurring over on the eastern end of the map where a couple of tanks have pushed forward very aggressively, and those guys are the only ones that actually seem to be killing anything at the moment. They've managed to gain another kill for the team, and another, so the team's winning 3-0. So that's pretty good. I mean, if those guys up to the northeast can maintain that kind of momentum and stick together, then these guys down here don't have to push, they just have to hold on. And there is a Conqueror that's managed to push ahead, hasn't taken any damage so far, and looks like he's managed to push the enemy Emil back. I don't know what that Type 60... Why is there a Type 64 fighting on that corner? Surely there are better places for a Type 64 light tank to be than backing up a Conqueror against all of the enemy heavies. Oh, I have a bad feeling about this. And there's their first casualty, and it wouldn't have been too bad if it had been one of the midline ridge campers, but it's the Lorraine 40T who's actually doing some fighting up there to the northeast. So those guys are down one tank, down one very useful auto-loading tank. And, well, they're fighting back. I mean, it's a pretty boring replay to watch from I'm Pretty Terrible's perspective, but the action is all happening up there in the northeast corner. Tanks are falling left, right and centre. They're still winning quite handily. What the hell is that T-34 doing? Really? You're going to drive across the middle of the open? Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. I know I was anxious that the guys on this flank maybe push a little, but that's not really what I had in mind. So, I don't think that T-34 is going to live for much longer. And yet there are tanks getting killed left, right and centre, and the team is still winning, 7 kills to 3. Amazingly, the T-34 is still alive, although probably not for much longer. On the bright side, driving across the open field like that did cause all of those hidden tank destroyers to open up on him, revealing their position, and they managed to get a couple of kills out of it, but, well, yeah, predictably the T-34 is dead. And now I'm Pretty Terrible is in the unenviable position of being in a very, very thinly armoured tank destroyer and having to fight off things like that VK4502B. The enemy team are fighting back, but we're still ahead, 8 kills to 5. gold, really. Well, there's that 5% premium ammunition that Wargaming say is all that gets fired in random battles. Well, I suppose the 4502 probably had the gold loaded to deal with the Conqueror's turret. Aiming for the lower glacis of a VK4502B. It's not actually a weak spot. It's the same armour thickness as everywhere else over the front of the hull, but, well, you know, aiming for lower glacis isn't a bad habit to have. Oh, well, yeah, okay. He just got doom turtled. And now there's only a 1 kill difference between the two teams. Conqueror still doing a good job on this corner, but that is some seriously tough opposition. Don't forget the Doom Turtles out there somewhere as well. And is that an S103 with him? It is. Really? Well, while we're on the subject of dubious positioning, take a look at this defender. We're going to be seeing quite a lot of this guy. Although the enemy team are not, and we're going to be hearing quite a bit from him in chat too. He has been pretty active in chat up until now, although it's mostly just been confined to saying no every time the tank's fighting on the northeast corner begged him for some kind of help and assistance. The E50 player on the team, who had been fighting up in this northeastern sector, is having a serious case of the rage in chat thanks to the actions, or lack of actions, of that defender player. And he's starting to spam the map with pings, trying to get the attention of the defender and the T-30 to get off their arses and come up here and help this AMX 5100. Now, I'm certainly not condoning the behaviour of the E50. He has, and is going to continue to say some pretty terrible things in chat about his teammates in general, and that defender in particular. And he's been spamming the map with pings, which is highly annoying at the best of times, but, well, when you see what this defender is doing... yeah. What is this defender doing? He just took a full health, very heavily armoured tier 8 heavy, away from the fight, drove to the map border, took a shot at a perfectly innocent bush, and now he's watching the border for enemy tanks? Well, if the enemy team had reinforcements incoming from Ruinberg, this might be a good position, but they don't, so it isn't. The E50's there in chat, demanding that everybody report this bot defender, and the defender replies with the first positive thing he said in chat this entire game. Affirmative, yeah, I'll report myself for being a bot. Meanwhile, the Conqueror's died, the S103 is running for his life, the AMX 5100 has died, there are now no tanks on either flank. The scores are even, and they do still have a T-30. With a very, very powerful gun. Unfortunately, the T-30 come over to support the S-103 picks exactly the wrong moment to break cover, and while he's moving from bush to bush, gets spotted by a Rheinmetall Borsig. Now that's not going to be good news for the Rheinmetall Borsig, because this is, after all, a T-30. But it's not just the Rheinmetall Borsig shooting at him. He got lit up, and everybody unloads. And the T-30 was in a pretty strong position with a lot of health, but not anymore. Still, they have taken out the Borsig. What the hell is this defender doing? Is he perhaps getting into a position from which he can fire upon enemy tanks in the cap circle? No. What he is doing is asking the team in chat to win for him. Yes, really. Meanwhile, the T-30, trying to spot some targets for artillery, does actually spot the T-95. Unfortunately for the T-30, that works both ways, and he gets nuked by the enemy M53. The scores are now 12-12, 3 tanks left alive on each team. Unfortunately for I'm Pretty Terrible, one of his 3 tanks is this guy. And this is where things start getting seriously bizarre in chat. The defender's there in chat again, and he's explaining his actions by saying, "Blame World of Tanks for letting me play." He really just said that. And since the defender clearly isn't interested in fighting the enemy team, he's got nothing better to do than exercise his fingers on his keyboard, and so he continues in chat. His next comment is this little pearl of wisdom. "I have 2,000 games on this account, report me, I don't care, I have more accounts." We'll just let the implications of that one sink in for the moment. Right now the artillery is about to have to defend himself from the T-95. And if it had been anything other than a T-95, that might have actually worked. The S-103 puts a shot into him as well, but there was no way the artillery was ever going to get away with that. The T-95 doesn't survive it either, however. The S-103 is able to put a second shot in and finish him off. The scores are now 13-13, 2 tanks remaining on each team. Unfortunately, yeah, you know the score by now. One of them is this guy. So it's all pretty much down to this S-103, and he's fighting an IS-6 who has a 122mm gun that can overmatch his armour from any angle and one-shot him, and artillery that can beat his armour with high explosive and also one-shot him. If only there was a tank on the team that could go forward, spot targets and take hits with its extremely strong armour while this S-103 does what it should be doing, sitting in a bush and killing everything. Yeah. The Defender's still active in chat, of course. Look at my account. Many premiums. I do not care. Report me, please. Which kind of begs the question, if this guy has 2,000 games played, which isn't a huge amount, but it's certainly not a small amount either. Oh, there's the M53. We'll come back to this in a moment. Yeah. Well, this is an interesting situation to be in if you're in an S-tank. Oh, who put that AMX 5100 there? Whoops. M53's aiming up. Wait, no longer spotted. Now, the S-103 is an incredibly mobile machine when it's in mobility mode, but when it's in mobility mode, its gun would struggle to hit the side of a barn from the inside. Likewise, the opposite is true. When it's in siege mode, the gun is amazing, but the mobility sucks. Be nice to know where that IS-6 is, of course. And that's when an enemy tank drives into the cap circle, and the artillery takes the shot and misses, hitting the wreck of the Scorpion G instead. Now, I'll pit a Defender against an IS-6 any day of the week, and we know that the IS-6 is sitting in the cap circle. There are only 2 other tanks on the enemy team. If only we had a very powerful Tier 8 premium heavy tank sitting in a position that overlooks the cap circle that could do something about the IS-6. Meanwhile, the S-Tag actually scores a hit on the move against the M53. One more, and he knows exactly where the IS-6 is. He can finish off the... oh dear, you really... well, on the bright side, he might have driven in front of the M53's gun and got taken out, but he was so close the splash damage also finished off the M53, so there's just one enemy tank left alive. We know it's an IS-6, we know exactly where he is, he's in the cap circle, and he's got 2 kills to his name. So he's obviously been involved in some fighting. He may be damaged to the extent that he's also a one-shot kill. And even if he isn't, it's an IS-6. It's not a bad tank, but it's nowhere near as good as a Defender. And certainly from the front, an IS-6 is really going to struggle to hurt a Defender. And since you know exactly where he is, in the cap circle, you can point your frontal armour towards him. And even if the IS-6 is firing gold, and does manage to penetrate, the Defender's gun does more damage. You couldn't ask for a situation in this match more heavily in favour of the Defender, and yet that's all for this guy, just far too much effort. Just about the only positive thing I can say about this result is that guy, Great 2000, his account no longer exists, so it looks like he did enough of this to upset enough people that so many reports were filed against him that Wargaming banned his account. But like he said earlier on in chat, he has many premium vehicles and many accounts. So the chances are good that he's still out there, somewhere, doing this on a regular basis and ruining the matches for every team that he takes part in. And on that bombshell, enjoy your next game of World of Tanks. Take care, folks, and I'll catch you next time.